People have changed, and motherhood has never been lonelier. You can have the nice house, you can have the good job, or the picture perfect neighborhood, and still feel completely alone in motherhood. The village is gone. Neighbors keep to themselves, and families live far away, and most of us are just trying to hold it all together behind closed doors. But then you catch a glimpse of what it could be like. A town where people wave and kids play outside and moms actually talk to each other at the park. And suddenly you realize it's not motherhood that changed, it's the world around us. And if you've been feeling that loneliness too, you're not the only one. When I look around, it feels like people have changed in three really big ways. We don't show up for each other in the way that we used to. We've let busyness crowd out belonging, and we've lost sight of the way that God designed motherhood in the first place. So let me explain what I mean. Moms today are carrying the weight of raising kids without the support, without the rest, and without the perspective that used to hold families together. The pressure has never been higher to do more, to do it better, or to look like you have it all figured out. And the lonelier we feel, the easier it is to just scroll for connection, which only makes us feel worse. And if we don't talk about it, then we just keep carrying this weight alone, wondering why it feels so heavy. I'm Cassie. I'm a certified life coach. I'm also a mom of 3 kids. I have been a stay-at-home mom for 13 years, and I know what it feels like to be carrying the weight of motherhood all alone. I have lived through military trainings and deployments. I've lived through the fancy neighborhood with zero community and the constant pressure to keep it all together all by myself. And I thought it was just normal, to be honest, that if I could just stay independent and handle everything on my own, then I would finally feel like I was doing a good job. But all it did was leave me feeling very lonely and absolutely exhausted. And the truth is, it wasn't just me. People really have changed. Community is harder to find. Busyness is louder than ever. And culture standards for moms are absolutely crushing. What finally made the difference for me was learning how to step out of those shifting expectations that are ever growing and actually anchor myself in God's unchanging design for motherhood. That is when I stopped chasing what people expected and started actually finding peace in my home. Motherhood feels lonelier because people don't show up like they used to, not for each other and not even for themselves. Our grandma's generation was so different. Kids were running around, in and out of houses, neighbors were dropping off food, women were chatting across the fences while their laundry dried. Fast forward now to me, several years ago, sitting in my upper class neighborhood, scrolling Pinterest while the kids were fighting in the room next to me. Instead of a village, I had a feed. And of course, every other mom seemed to have the friend group and the perfect life and the thing that I was clearly missing. Meanwhile, I was bribing myself with a banana Nutella just to make it through nap time. We had owner built our dream home in a very ritzy neighborhood, one that we never could have afforded any other way than owner building. The neighbors were very nice, but they kept to themselves, and honestly, so did I. I bought into the idea that a good mom should handle it all on her own. Plus, I was constantly listening to that voice in my head that was telling me I wasn't as good as them. And the truth was, not only were people not showing up for me, but I wasn't showing up for them or for myself, for that matter. All of us keeping to ourselves meant isolating instead of actually reaching out. I was choosing scrolling over real connection, whether that was maybe making a phone call or going on a walk with another mom. I had so many options that I didn't utilize. I was so bad about accepting help or even creating space for myself instead of just like pushing my needs to the bottom of the list. And then I was 8 months pregnant and my husband was being deployed. I wish I could tell you that the loneliness had finally boiled up enough for me to force myself to change my ways, but I wasn't quite at that point in my life yet. I hadn't found life coaching and I was still really stubborn, but his deployment forced me to do a lot of things that I wouldn't normally do. I had to hire a doula. That was my top priority. Like, I cannot do this by myself. because I can't drive myself. I can't just leave the kids home alone. I had 2 kids at the time. I can't just leave them home alone. So I asked my brother to watch my kids. I had to ask people for help, and then I had to let them help me. I had a backyard farm at the time, so I was milking goats, I had chickens, I had rabbits, and I had to accept people's offers to help with those morning chores for that time I was gone in the hospital, and then for the time once I got home. That season of my life taught me how to build a support system for myself, which is something we have to do for ourselves these days. People used to really interact and be present, and now we're just scattered and busy and connected mostly through screens. When people stopped showing up in person, moms like me started drowning in comparison instead of community. But peace doesn't come from whether other people show up for us or not. It comes from showing up for ourselves first. When you stop trying to measure up to everyone else's way of doing it, you can finally start leaning into the God-given way that you were made to mother. That might give us more peace, but that constant pressure to measure up is also stealing our pace of life. Somewhere along the way, people traded slow, steady family rhythms for this really frantic, always-on hustle, and moms are the ones left carrying it most of the time. Families are stretched thin because people now glorify being busy as if it's a badge of honor. And this isn't just me being tired speaking, this is actually a cultural shift that we are all living in. When I was younger, family dinners and Sundays at home were just non-negotiables, and everyone was doing the same. We played at our neighbor's house a couple houses down after school. And now everyone's calendar is maxed out. It is nearly impossible to even catch people at home anymore. And even if they are home, they probably don't want to answer the door. They would rather just stick to their screen. I now have upper elementary school kids who are interested in sports, and they are very overwhelmed because their peers are so far beyond where they're at because they started so intensely and at such a young age. Families are just constantly on the go with extracurriculars, and it's not just that. The home itself can be even busier for moms. I know I used to let my to-do list absolutely run my life. I would find new recipes online or see a new routine that somebody was trying, and I would just need to try it, need to implement it, because then I would feel like I'm doing the right way, right? There's always a right way. My whole entire motherhood has been built upon finding the right way of doing things. So I got my degree in human development and family studies, knowing, okay, that'll teach me about child development and I'll know exactly what to do. Oh, but there's always new parenting books, right? There's always new approaches and new philosophies, and oh, what about what this person does that works so well with their kids? It's the constant comparison that is pushing us to hustle. And I was doing that and burning out in the process. I was always pushing, go, 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 the to-do list, learning new things, leaving me completely drained to do anything more than just scroll. I used to really truly think that if I worked harder, then I could keep up and I could stay kind of up to date with what everyone was doing. I had the chore charts or the schedules or the meal plans, I mean, all the things, but instead of feeling on top of things, I actually felt constantly behind. I thought that all of this productivity would give me some peace and direction, but really I had just swapped rest for hustle, and I had swapped family time for getting things done. I would skip out on our weekend movies to just sneak out and tidy a little bit, or get this thing cleaned, or to just get something done, because that pressure was so real to keep up and to keep my house looking like her house. I really didn't feel like I could afford to not cook one night a week so that I could go see a friend, or to just leave the mess for tomorrow so that I could chat with someone on the phone. People have traded belonging for busyness, and the pressure to keep up leaves moms absolutely exhausted, and honestly it leaves families disconnected. But peace doesn't come from proving that you can keep pace with the world. It comes from making decisions based on what's actually a good fit for you, even if it looks a little bit slower or smaller or simpler than what everyone around you is doing. The third thing, though, it doesn't just stop with the hustle culture. Maybe the hardest part is that people have changed the way they talk about motherhood. Motherhood feels heavier than ever because people no longer see it as sacred. They see it as optional or outdated or something to perfect for show. With social media, everyone now is on display to the point that it feels like a competition. There's always that new routine to try, or that new life-changing cooking product, or this amazing new cleaning system, or this awesome new parenting hack. Literally every single day, you could find hundreds of things to add to your to-do list without even realizing it's not necessary, and it's actually causing more harm than good. The very things promoted to make our life easier is actually making it so much harder. Motherhood feels so confusing, and it's not meant to be that way. It's people's voices creating the confusion. God's voice is unchanging, but culture and experts, even well-meaning friends, will always keep changing what they say a good mom should do. And I was one of the biggest suckers for it. I did all the things. I read all the books. I spent time finding all the new things, finding the right way. And I had to let go of that. The cultural and religious expectations felt so high that I couldn't breathe. And the weight of it truly got too heavy for me. It wasn't until my entire life fell apart, divorce, giving up that dream home that I had built in that ritzy neighborhood, starting all over, moving into a condo with my kids, finding life coaching, embarking on that journey, getting remarried, moving into a neighborhood now that half of the population is probably over 80 years old. And that's the kind of small town feel that I was talking about. It's like I've time warped back, and it's amazing. It's a slower pace here. People talk to each other. Kids ride bikes. My kids have friends across every fence that they will just hop back and forth and play. That has not ever been my experience. But it was all of that kind of transformation that I realized that whole time I was chasing people's opinions instead of God's design. I had the degree, I had the system, I had the advice from all the experts, I had every reason to think that I had figured it out. I really was that mom. The mom that everyone wanted to be like, the one that just had it all together all the time. And even I was drowning. I was so lonely. I was so unhappy. I had to realize that I wasn't failing. So believe me, I have lived the messy middle, and I will tell you, the more I tried to measure up to what culture told me a good mom was, like what she was supposed to be, what she was supposed to look like, the more miserable I was. People will always change. Trends, opinions, expectations, they will keep shifting. But God's design for motherhood hasn't changed. He gave you unique strengths and a way to show up for your family that doesn't need any validation from anyone else. And when you step out of cultural confusion and back into His design, the loneliness goes away because you are not carrying it to prove yourself anymore. So if you've been wondering why motherhood feels so much lonelier than it should, it's not just you. People have changed. But you don't have to change with them. And that's why I created my masterclass, to help moms step out of comparison and stop carrying the weight of motherhood alone and get back to the way God intended for it to be. You don't have to keep drowning in comparison or running at the world's pace. There's another way, and this way feels so much better, where you can find connection and confidence and joy by just leaning into how God intended it. and how God made you, honestly. If you know that you'll want that, it is free. It's coming soon, so make sure that you're on my email list. You can get that by grabbing the free ebook that's down in my description. Trust that God never asked you to go it alone, to prove yourself, or to chase the world's standards. He made you to mother in your own God-given way. And when you step out of the loneliness and actually find rest in Him, you will find that the kind of peace that you're looking for is right there ready for you. I know you can do it. You're amazing, and I'll see you soon.